Well, better late than never. That is the Tesla Model 3 Highland. Yes, I'm a little bit late, but this is the Tesla Model 3 Highland. Okay, let's talk price and range. Brand new, this is a $64,000 car. For that you get 513 Ks on one charge, but as this is a refreshed model, let's just take a look at what's new. Now this video is going to be a little bit shorter because I'm not going to be treating this as a whole new car review, just going to be looking at what's new and interesting in this Tesla Model 3 Highland. Now you may also be asking, why am I reviewing this car now when it's been out for months? And there's two reasons. Number one is the same reason you don't buy a brand new phone immediately. You leave it a few months so that everyone else buys it and they sort out all the bugs. The second reason is I forgot. Let's start with tech specs, and fundamentally the car's the same as the outgoing Tesla Model 3. It's still got the same motor, still got the same battery pack in it, and I'd love to tell you the official stats of the motor and the battery pack, but Tesla, if you know Tesla stuff, you know they don't release official information about their battery capacity or their electric motor output. Motor supposedly about 211 kilowatts, unofficially. The battery is supposedly about 62 kilowatt hours in capacity, supposedly, but again, unofficial. They like to concentrate more on giving you the range and the features rather than the tech specs, and that would be great if the range was anywhere near accurate. Yes, that's one common complaint about the Model 3 is that it never quite gets the range it's advertised, and that's normal with a lot of electric cars. There are some that get strangely close, like the Polestar cars. They get pretty close to their official range, but Tesla seems to be a bit miles off. So my advice is whenever you see the car's official range, in this case 513 Ks per charge, take 15% off, and then you're left with your real-world New Zealand range per charge, which is about 436. That's a bit accurate. But what's new, you're asking? Well, let's start with design. And looking at the front of the car, it is clear that they have had a go at redesigning it. The bumper is all new. The bonnet is much sleeker, as are the headlights as well. It is a sleeker looking, swisher looking car. I think in terms of refresh and aesthetics, they have improved the car. Same goes for the side panels. Apparently, Tesla say that they have put a lot of effort into redesigning the side, but at first glance, I honestly could not really see any difference. The back is a different story. The back is definitely cleaner, it's much more sleeker, especially the tail lights. If you have a close-up look at the tail lights, they've gone away from the split dual light system on each end of the car and then moved to one single unit. Now I wonder if that's not just to cut costs, but at the same time, it also removes the problem of panel gaps. As for the interior, well, they've refreshed that as well, but not a lot. It is still painfully dark. I don't know what is it about Western manufacturers and their obsession with black and grey interiors. Why? It is unbearably hot in summer, but it does have ventilated seats now. That's one big positive. Yes, you heard that right. All models now have front ventilated seats. Yes, but it is still painfully black, although they have done their best to freshen it up. Gone is the British Leyland-esque wood grain from the panels inside. Now it's been replaced with, well, actually, fabric, which means every time you drive a Tesla Model 3 now, you'll be touching cloth. Now, one thing Tesla have done to try and offset the misery of this very dark interior is install pinstripe lighting all the way around the car, and it really does make a difference. Like right now, the entire car's got a nice sort of purple hue, but when I get the chance, I will change that to a soothing potato brown. Another thing Tesla have done is maximize space. By using softer padding in the back seat, the seats are now much more comfortable in the rear, and it also means you end up with just a little bit more head height. Not only that, look at what they've done to the center console in the back. It used to just be sort of vacant real estate, just some vents and that was all. But now look what they've done. There's a screen there, a little 8-inch display, which not only controls the air conditioning in the back, but also allows backseat passengers to control the audio and video being played in the car, which, if you've got kids, sounds like a terrible idea. Let's just hope that it has a child lock. Now, one thing I should probably point out is the elephant in the room. I want to start the wipers, but they've got rid of the button to turn the wipers on. That one? There we go. Okay, so it's a button on the steering wheel now. I don't know if that solves a problem, but they've done it. Same goes for the indicator stalk. Like right now, I want to indicate right. There's buttons. There's buttons instead of the stalks. It feels weird. Every car I've ever had has had stalks to turn on the indicators or the wipers, except a Mitsubishi V3000 I had. That had this weird paddle sticking out of the dashboard. Okay, we're getting sidetracked here. But yeah, this has got buttons on the steering wheel for the wipers and buttons for the indicators, so let's try it. It sounds good, but what's it going to be like in, say, a roundabout where you need to change direction and the steering wheel's upside down? Well, I guess we'll find a roundabout and try that. Don't know if this is solving a problem. I fear this could be form over function. The eagle-eyed viewers amongst you might have noticed that this car has a few accessories on it. It has things like these form-fitting floor mats, and it's got these rubber inserts in the door pockets. It's also got aftermarket wheels covers on it, and all of these are available from Tesseries. I should do a shout out to Tesseries because Leo, the dude who runs the place, has very kindly let me borrow his car. Really appreciate that. They also do interesting stuff, like when I walked into their workshop, they are replacing a standard Model 3 display with a swivel display. They've got heaps of stuff in stock, and it's not just for Teslas as well. They look after a whole bunch of electric cars. So my advice is if you want some toys, go check them out. And while I'm doing thanks, I should also shout out to Ecotricity. It is New Zealand's only certified climate positive electricity provider. So if you are interested in looking after the planet for your kids and their kids, sign up at ecotricity.co.nz. All the other power companies in New Zealand wish they could be climate positive accredited, but they can't. It's taken Ecotricity years of hard work to get that, and all the other power companies just look in envy. So sign up at ecotricity.co.nz. You will not look back. Plus, all the electricity is super affordable because it's only from wind, hydro, and solar, indicating left, and it works. Oh, here we go. We're going to try the indicator on a roundabout. This is terrible! It was abysmal! Why did... This doesn't solve a problem. That just made me not indicate properly. Okay, I'm sure I'll get used to it in time. Like, you get used to displays instead of rear view mirrors on some cars, like the Polestar 4. They've got rid of the rear window entirely. It's now just a display. And you do get used to it. And I'm sure I'll get used to this. But immediately, it doesn't seem to solve a problem. Conversely, it seems to create more... Okay, what's the suspension like? Oh, I tell you what, the previous Model 3, that would have sent me to the chiropractor. That wasn't actually that bad. Like, it still feels firm on New Zealand roads, but it's not as unbearable. It looks like Tesla have actually listened to the customers complaining about the ride quality, because I know that in America, a lot of people let the air out of their tires just to improve the ride quality. They'd rather drive around with a warning tire pressure low sign on the dashboard than have to go and get their spine readjusted every 6 minutes. Now, there's still quite a bit more that they've changed on this car, but in order to make it entertaining, I'm going to put it into a pro and con list, which should make the comment section quite lively. Let's start with the pros, obviously, and that is the looks. Visually, it is a much better looking car, and I always liked the Tesla Model 3. I thought the design was cool, much cooler than the Model Y. I thought this is just a sleek looking machine, but the refresh has made it even better. Top points for the refresh, mission accomplished. The next pro is improved efficiency. They've got more range per charge out of this car. Instead of 492 k's per charge, it's now 513 k's per charge, providing you drive like Miss Daisy. The next pro is a more efficient use of space. I mean, not only have they given you more room for backseat passengers, but the boot is also bigger. 682 litres of capacity back there. And what was already a large boot, they've made it even larger. So top points there, Tesla. I really am impressed, because this is a mid-sized car with a station wagon-sized boot. The next pro is the user interface. Tesla is industry leading when it comes to the user interface. You've got everything in here. You've got detailed Google Maps. You've got the car information. It's showing me all the cars, maybe not those Pukekos, but it's showing me all the other cars around me. I can change all the car's settings. And then when I get to a charger, I can watch streaming services, I can watch YouTube, or I can play games. Yes, you can play a range of games in this car. Thanks to its updated processor, it can play more games than before. In fact, you can even get a controller and you can use it while the car's charging to pretend you are playing driving games. I love it. No other car maker's doing that quite like Tesla. Tesla is really leading the industry when it comes to infotainment, user interface. They are still the leaders. I think the closest car maker that gets close is Polestar and BYD. Whoa, there's no stalk. It's going to take some getting used to. And this brings me to another point. Because Tesla's largely got rid of all the buttons in the interior, except for just a handful on the steering wheel, it means everything is either done through the menu or, fortunately, it's all voice controlled. And everything in Tesla is voice controlled. It's even the wipers. Turn on wipers. Look at that! No other car I know of does that. Oh, okay, stop. How do I turn them off? Off. Okay. I'm not a fan of having to take my eyes off the road to do some things though. But one thing Tesla lags behind in though is understanding te reo. So if you want to go anywhere that is not an anglicised name, it will always struggle. You will have to pull over and enter it manually. For example, navigate to Whakapapa. Not a clue. Another pro is the mobile app on this car. It is again industry leading. It's far ahead of a lot of the competition. You can do anything you can think of on the mobile app. Lock the car, unlock the car, set the temperature, check the storage, reduce the speed at which you're charging if necessary if you're on a trickle charger, or even look through the car's eyes and have Sentry Mode project the security camera footage straight to your phone. It is brilliant, and other car makers should be paying attention. Speaking of mobiles, this also has an increased number of Bluetooth sensors, which means that it can do things like open the boot using proximity. And it also means that it's more responsive. If you are, for example, walking away from the car, it will lock itself automatically a little quicker than it would on the old Model 3. But that is the list of changes and the list of pros for the Tesla Model 3 Highland. And there are a lot of pros. But like last call in a bar, sooner or later you're going to have to go home, and then you'll have to wake up, roll over in bed and look at the cons list of the Tesla Model 3 Highland, starting with con number 1. Well, there is no upgrade to the drivetrain. There's no more power, no more battery capacity in the Highland refresh. And there will be people saying, well, what's the point? It already tried and tested the drivetrain. There's no real need to give it more range. But I would have liked it just to have a little bit more oomph, to make the acceleration in the 5-second range. That would have been cool. The next con is that while the ride has improved, little bumps like that still go right through the car. And they put a lot of effort into improving the suspension, but it is still very firm. This is, I think, best at home on California highways down those interstates, not on New Zealand's roads, which tend to be a little more interactive. That's the right word for it. Actually, a fun fact, when I first reviewed the Tesla Model 3, I found the ride to be so hard that I did a before and after test, installing potatoes, 50 kilograms of potatoes in the back and the front of the car, and then doing a before and after on a set loop around Onehunga in Auckland. And believe it or not, the ride quality did improve with 50 kilos of potatoes. Like, is there anything potatoes can't do? The next con is that this car is more expensive than you think. Sure, I said it's $64,000 or $63,999, whatever, but once you tack on the $1,400 delivery fee that you can't get rid of no matter what part of New Zealand you click on, plus the $400 order fee, what is that? Plus the $420 odd of registration, that I understand. But come on, a $400 order fee? I don't know, it leaves a bad taste in my mouth. It's like buying anything in a store in America. You think, oh wow, that's $1.99. Then you get to the counter and then you find out that, oh no, they slapped the tax on. There's lots of hidden fees living in America, and I guess that's normal. But as a Kiwi, I don't like it. Bottom line is, you're going to end up paying more than 64 grand for this car. It's going to turn out to be like $66,000, and this is starting to get into quite spicy money territory. Next complaint is long delivery times. I've had a lot of Tesla fans in New Zealand complain about long delivery times. Yeah, the latest delivery estimate for this model I think is November or December. So yeah, the right-hand drive market, we pay a penalty for driving on the correct side. We have to wait a lot longer to get our hands on Tesla Model 3s. Next complaint is that there's no Android Auto. And this is an old complaint. No CarPlay for Apple, no Android Auto. It's just a fact of life. And there will be people saying, well, you don't need it because you've got this fantastic Google Maps system here. And the map system is excellent. But as someone who uses Microsoft Teams a lot and text messaging and signal messaging app, I'm driving a lot, I do a lot of messaging through the app, and I can do that all with voice commands or just touching the screen using Android Auto. Can't do that with the Tesla system. Is it really that hard? Are there any Teslarologists able to tell me why has it taken Tesla so long to put Android Auto or Apple CarPlay in the cars? Next con is that there's no charger supplied with the car. Still, in 2024, Tesla doesn't supply a charger. It's an extra $600. And there's a lot of ways in which Tesla has cut costs like this, and it's penny pinching, I think, and I'm not quite sure it leaves a good taste in my mouth. Next complaint is that Tesla have obviously got rid of all the stalks and all the buttons, and I'm not quite sure that is an improvement. Because when it comes to wipers and indicators, these are things I'm using all the time. I want to be able to do it without having to look or learn. Every car I've got into, it's, sure, maybe the indicator changes side, but it doesn't take long to realize your hands are in control of your wipers and indicators, but not anymore. I just don't think it solves a problem. And the last con, I've saved the best for last, some are going to scoff at this one, and some will go, that's right. So it's up to you, whatever you want to choose. But the last con why many people choose not to buy a Tesla Model 3, or any Tesla for that matter, is the CEO of Tesla. Yes, I'm going to say it. He is a divisive character. And I personally don't care what your personal preference is. Maybe you love it that he's very spicy on social media, or maybe you're appalled at him. Regardless, his interactions on the site formerly known as Twitter over the last year or so have divided people, and supposedly they are impacting sales. And that's crazy. I'm sure Tesla's accountants are probably thinking, Elon, would you just be quiet for 1 minute? But regardless, it does seem to be making a difference to Tesla's bottom line. One thing's noticeable though is that Elon, like 6 years ago, he had the world on a string. Everyone loved him because he had this charisma. He was the rocket man. He sent a Tesla Roadster around the sun. He was building flamethrowers and boring machines, and it just seemed like endless positivity. But he's gone from like a Tony Stark figure to that guy in The Fifth Element. Yeah, that one. I should point out though that there are still a bunch of things Tesla has changed on this car that are just not really worth mentioning. There's things like they've changed the stitching method on the seats, or they've moved some reflectors around. But would the list of cons stop me from buying the Tesla Model 3 Highland? Well, for that, you're gonna have to wait till after the Spud score. Starting with performance, and I'm giving it 6 Spuds out of 10 as it moves well. Handling's next, and this is where that revamped suspension really shines, getting an easy 8 Spuds. As for comfort, it's much better than the previous Model 3, but it's still quite firm, so 5 Spuds there. Let's talk efficiency now, and the refreshed Model 3 has managed to squeeze a few more Ks per charge, but most motorists wouldn't notice any change in real-world range. Despite that, it's still one of the most efficient EVs you can buy today, so 10 well-earned Spuds. Gadgetry's next, and as a driver, it's got almost everything you could need, from games to maps to apps to dash cameras to voice commands, but it still doesn't have Apple Android or Auto CarPlay, and Tesla still refuses to offer vehicle to load on this model, so 8 Spuds there. But is it good value? Well, yeah. For the amount of range you get, the price is appealing, hence why you see these things everywhere, 8 Spuds. As for charging speed, it's quick, but there's no change over the previous model, so a 10 to 80% top up will take about 28 minutes, and that's not bad. 7 Spuds. What about style? Well, it's subjective, but I've always found the Model 3 to be a good looking machine, and the Highland has managed to improve it just a little more. 8 Spuds. But is it fit for purpose? Well, absolutely. Whatever you need to do, whether it's to go on a long road trip or commute each day or tow a trailer, it will do it all. Although removing the indicator stalk doesn't help when driving in roundabouts, and the removal of the gear selector stalk can add some mild inconvenience at times, so I'm giving it 7 Spuds. But it's the PSC which matters most, and despite having a microscopic glove box, I managed to install 69 tubers into the dash, which, and I don't know how Tesla's engineers have done it, but that's exactly the same PSC as the Model Y, which makes a total Spud score of 74, and that is a good score. And there you have it. That is the Spud score for the Tesla Model 3 refreshed version, the Highland. And there's a lot to like about this car, but we can't ignore the list of cons. Primarily, they're starting to change things for the worse, in my opinion. I don't know, I still like the car a lot, and I'd still very much love to own one of these things, but it's not the only game in town now. There's now a lot of competition from other car makers in a similar price category. In fact, there's cars like this, the Cupra-born EV, which now costs less than this and goes further. And that's the essentials of the Tesla Model 3 Highland. It's still, by all accounts, an excellent machine that they've refined a little more. I'd be happy to have this in my driveway. It's an excellent car, although the list of cons is now large enough that we can't, stupid lack of stalk, it's now large enough that we can't sweep it under the rug anymore. It is starting to show its age a little bit. Oh, where's the button? Which way is it? Left? What a terrible idea. This doesn't solve a problem. Yeah, Tesla, maybe concentrate on the upcoming replacement for this car, because I think that is what the market's ready for.